What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and from the very beginning, we knew that Disney's new live-action Snow White was going to be a complete and total disaster because, of course, like so many things in Hollywood, and specifically with Disney, they end up being focused on the completely wrong thing. It's not about the story, no. It's about identity politics. It's about representation. And with the casting of Rachel Zegler months ago, we all saw that because they race swapped the character of Snow White, a character whose literal skin color is described in the fairy tale itself. Skin white as snow. That's the entire reason for her name. Yet they're race swapping her for identity politics. And we've of course seen what happened recently when Peter Dinklage decided to go out and virtue signal about dwarves. And then Disney came right back and said, you know what? You're right. It's not right to show people with disabilities that way. We're debating just eliminating the dwarves entirely. So you now have Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, potentially without seven dwarves, and a Snow White who is not true to the character. And now Rachel Zegler is going out and saying something else that is only proving how insane it is to continue to do this, to continue to race swap these characters. Because guess what? Someone doesn't have to look like you for you to be a fan of them, to identify with them. But there are some insane people on Twitter and in the entertainment industry that have that in their heads. Rachel Zegler gave an interview. We're gonna go through some of these responses, but one of the most interesting things she said was this: you don't normally see Snow Whites of Latin descent. Yeah, crazy how that doesn't happen. Even though Snow White is a really big deal in Spanish-speaking countries, but you don't particularly see anybody who looks like me or are playing roles like that. This is what we're gonna focus on in her interview, because she pointed out what we've been saying forever, but she doesn't even understand it because she's too stupid, because she is too hypnotized by this Hollywood mainstream garbage. Snow White is a really big deal in Spanish-speaking countries. Crazy. So even though they don't look like you or maybe even talk like you, Snow White is a big deal. There are a lot of fans, there are a lot of people who are interested in that story and love that story, because you don't need someone to look exactly like you. That is the problem. These people think that by doing that, somehow they'll gain all these fans. That's just not the case. But let's go through what Rachel Zegler said. This is so stupid. She even admits it that Snow White is big before she looked like her. This is exactly what we've been saying and arguing, and she admitted it, and she has no fucking idea. Snow White actress Rachel Zegler attempts to rehab her vile image by calling to love her critics, quote, in the right direction. And yeah, I'll be real, over the past few years, the things that Rachel Zegler has said specifically to white people and specifically to anyone who might consider themselves a conservative or Republican or whatever is vile and disgusting, which is probably why she belongs at Disney. Upcoming Snow White actress Rachel Zegler continues to try to rehab her image as she recently called to love her critics in the right direction. Now, we have a lot of history of Rachel Zegler. Again, just over the past few years, she responded to an article from Vice News reporting that Kyle Rittenhouse had been charged, retweeted, a 17-year-old murderer, a 17-year-old racist, a 17-year-old white supremacist. Wow, that's some harsh words. And of course, when all of that ended up, not exactly playing out the way she wanted to, she was perfectly happy to then double down and say white privilege, white supremacy. Not a surprise. Kind reminder that this is the kind of person who aspired to be a cop, so abolish the police. Because, oh my God, this is only a year and a half ago. This is basically right around the time she got picked to be cast as Snow White. Someone responds, you're right. If you're an American, vote for Trump to promote free speech. Sit the hell down, racist, she replies. Then she doubles down. Recognize the person in office is a white supremacist and racist, and supporting him makes you the same. So sit, and I cannot stress this enough, the hell down, racist. This is what people like Rachel Zegler do. This is what people who are obsessed with identity politics and wokeness in the far left echo chamber do. Anyone who disagrees with them, even someone who said, Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, they get called a racist, because that's how these people think. If you think using my platform as any decent human being should is barking orders, haha, I've donated, shared, and will continue to educate myself on the never-ending racism that I and many other white/white passing people am to blame for. White passing, there you go. Do the same, be well. Going after Jeremy Renner. I think the new Hawkeye should be a trans woman of color to stick it to that racist, sexist, transphobic garbage monster. Hating her fellow Disney employee. Very interesting. But she did an interview with Andrew Garfield when they were talking about stuff, and this is where we're going to get into her comments. Zegler responded, "Never in a million years did I imagine that this world would be a possibility for me. You don't normally see Snow Whites that are of Latin descent, even though Snow White is a really big deal in Spanish-speaking countries." Once again, I think actually, someone even replied in this thread, if I could find it. Yeah, there you go, look. Look at, it's literally in the fairy tale itself of Snow White, okay? Not very long after, she had a daughter with skin white as snow, lips red as blood, and hair as black as ebony, and she was named Snow White. She was named that because of the color of her skin, right? It's one of the only characters maybe in fiction that we have like an actual reason to portray the skin color a certain way, right? That's the history. That's what this character is. There's no arguing that. You can't argue that. But they're trying to change it for identity politics to cause a splash. Well, they've caused a splash, not in the way they've wanted to. Blanca Nieves is a huge icon, whether you're talking about the Disney cartoon or just different iterations in the Grimm fairy tale and all the stories that come to it. She's a really big deal in the Spanish language, but you don't particularly see people who look like me are playing roles like that. Yet it's still a big deal. Yet it's still iconic in these countries. Even though Snow White doesn't look like them, they're fans of it. Shouldn't that tell you guys something? Shouldn't you understand that you don't need a character to look like you, to talk like you, to fuck like you, whatever it may be? You don't need that. You need a good story. That's the bottom line. And no amount of representation, no amount of diversity, no amount of virtue signaling will ever substitute for a story. But these people in Hollywood can never understand that. Zegler then brought up the backlash to her casting, saying when it got announced, it was a huge thing that was trending on Twitter for days because of all the people that were angry. Andrew Garfield would respond, not a huge fan of this from Andrew Garfield necessarily. Andrew Garfield would respond and say, those people, the people we need to educate, the people we need to love into awareness. Zegler continued stating, we need to love them in the right direction. Exactly. At the end of the day, I have a job to do and I'm really excited to do it. I get to be a Latina princess. Even a Latina saying Latina instead of Latinx. Some people should actually keep that in mind. This is the person who says we need to love them into awareness is the same person that declares anyone who disagrees with them racist, who labels people transphobic and sexist for no reason whatsoever. The same person who encouraged all of her followers to harass Gina Carano and get her fired. This Rachel Zegler praised Pedro Pascal, mind you. The same Rachel Zegler who basically threw it at fans as soon as she got cast. Yes, I am Snow White. No, I'm not bleaching my skin for this role. Rachel Zegler has been a pretty vile person over the past several years. Now she's saying we need to love our critics into awareness after all this garbage. This is going to bomb. This is going to absolutely bomb because the complete focus has been on identity politics from the very beginning. And even she admits that you don't need people to look like you in order to identify with them. But that's the road they're going down because of representation. This is so stupid. And I cannot wait till it backfires in an even bigger way for Disney. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone. And a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.